This is a book I find really helpful. I've listened to it many times. It's basically Principles to Being Happier, and it's written by someone who's done decades research in this area. And I think she's very good at. She's actually run randomized controlled experiments, reviewed them, and she kind of packages up her prescriptions in a very concrete way. Instead of think positive, it's like do X and Y because here's what people have tried. And she's very nuanced. She's not like do X. She's like, if you do X, here's a benefit, here's a challenge. So enjoy some downtown Toronto while you listen. Part 3.
Secrets to Abiding Happiness. The 5 Hows Behind Sustainable Happiness. It's relatively easy to become happier for the short duration, just as it's a piece of cake to quit smoking for a day or to temporarily keep a tidy desk. The challenge lies in sustaining the new level of happiness. You know this if you've tried to turn your life around before, but have found that nothing works. I would wager that your previous attempts have worked, just not for long. Why not? This section explains that long-term increases in your level of happiness can be attained, but only if you abide by the 5 hows behind sustainable well-being. In part 2, I described in detail a set of 12 activities from which you can adopt 1 or 2 or 4 to launch the process of making yourself a happier person. With these intentional activities, you have the power to harness the promise of the 40% to improve that large part of your happiness that can be improved. You may have begun carrying out these happiness activities already, or you may have not. In either case, you may be wondering about the essential secrets of their success. If you understood better how and why the happiness strategies worked, would you be more effective in practicing them? Would you be more likely to persist in engaging in them? Absolutely. I'm now going to describe the critical mechanisms of action for the success of the book's core program. The 5 hows, grounded in the scientific literature, are assembled and interpreted together here for the first time. The first how, positive emotion. Say that you are reasonably comfortable materially. You may not have everything you desire, but you have a roof over your head, plenty of food to eat, and keep you warm, and some security in your income. $1,000 suddenly fell out of the sky and onto your fortunate head. How should you spend the money to maximize the happiness that you will obtain from it? This is by no means a frivolous question. The answer gets to the heart of one of the primary ways that particular happiness activities make people happier, and that is by creating many happy moments. Indeed, frequent positive emotions, feelings of joy, delight, contentment, serenity, curiosity, interest, vitality, enthusiasm, vigor, thrill, and pride are the very hallmark of happiness. Fortunately, each of the 12 intentional happiness activities has the ability to generate a cascade of positive experiences. To be sure, one of the desirable features of such activities is that they can be frequently initiated, reinitiated, and adjusted to yield a continual flow of positive experiences and positive feelings. For example, a person who has resolved to undertake the twin strategies of committing to goals and increasing flow may decide to return to school in middle age. Accordingly, he may vary his reading choices and course selections in order to develop expertise in multiple areas. In the process, he will feel strong intrinsic motivation and flow, and experience the joy of discovering fascinating new areas of knowledge, the pride of mastering new skills, and the enjoyment of meeting new people. These ongoing positive experiences, brought about by conscious effort on his part, may help him remain particularly happy over a long period of time.
What do you take away from that? If you had to tell someone else what is interesting, what you heard so far, what would you say? Is there one concrete thing you could do differently? So imagine yourself on a trajectory, right? In the next day, the next week. You're going to set a set of actions. Let's call them ordinary actions A1, A2, A3. Now what's extraordinary action B1, B2, B3? What are you going to switch and change? Are you going to make a calendar event to take a particular action or try something else? Are you going to have a recurring reminder of a certain kind? Will you share this video with a friend and say, let's discuss how we can keep each other accountable for doing X in the next week? Give me some time to think, or maybe jot a note, or send a message, send a link, this URL to someone and say, I want to discuss this with you, and then add later. But you want to turn thought into action quickly. So what are you going to do? Now that you did that hard work of taking action, you can get a bit more content.
Consider another individual who embarks on practicing the 3 strategies of gratitude, kindness, and religion. If she places sincere effort into these activities, she will feel the gratification and peace that comes from appreciating life's blessings, the satisfaction that comes from helping others and from forging new relationships, and the serenity and awe that come from being in the presence of God. Notably, however, these surges of positive feeling won't be singular, but recurrent. contemplate each of the 12 happiness boosting activities, you'll observe that every one of them has the potential to produce a stream of positive experiences, to increase the number of transient bursts of happiness in your life.
Happiness experience 1, don't get run over. But did you hear that? How can they give you a series of transient bursts of happiness in your life? How do you kind of cultivate that? How do you notice the ones you're already engaging in? People you're talking to, tasks you did when you're doing the laundry, instead of being like, I got this thing done, finally. It's like, hey, I did something to make my life a bit better. I made my household a bit more organized. I, prepared some nice clean clothes to wear. And that's one of her activities, right? Gratitude.
Because positive emotions are typically short-lived, many people believe they are trivial. This is a mistake. As Barbara Fredrickson has eloquently argued, moments of pleasure don't just make you feel good, they broaden your horizons and build your social, physical, and intellectual skills. In this way, positive emotions beget upward spirals. For example, you feel invigorated after aerobic exercise, which boosts your creativity, which gives you a new idea about how to enchant your partner, which strengthens your marriage, which shores up your satisfaction and commitment, which leads you to be more grateful and forgiving, which fuels optimism, which creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, which buffers the sting of a setback at work, and so on. Some of the change.
What do you think of that? How do you use that? How do you recognize a positive emotion or feeling you've had? And let it make that upward spiral. See the benefits, feel the benefits. Just take a moment. Is it one of the quick, simple, positive emotion you could add to your day? When you feel stressed or negative, can you connect with someone instead of clicking? And appreciate the fact that it has some chance, X%, 1%, 20%, 50%. Buy your lottery ticket for a positive emotion that causes an upward spiral. Get started about.
Changes produced by small boosts of positive emotion are small, and some are big, but they add up. Positive emotions truly make you into a happier person. So, if you suddenly experienced a financial windfall, you would ultimately be much happier if you spent the money on numerous pleasant, mood-boosting things. A daily lunch of sushi, a weekly massage, a regular delivery of fresh flowers, or
Which of those might you do? Put in your calendar now. Think about it. Other things that don't even cost money, like put it in your calendar or text reminder to go for a walk at a particular time. Or even just step away from any laptop or phones or devices. As much as they kind of take over our lives, the advantages, when you put your phone away, does it feel like you're up on a hilltop in the Himalayas? Just step away from it and sit for 5 minutes and just think. It's like a moment of peace. So what's your activity? Start it back. I shall back up to it a second so you can hear it again and think about it.
back at work, and so on. Some of the changes produced by small boosts of positive emotion are small, and some are big, but they add up. Positive emotions truly make you into a happier person. So, if you suddenly experienced a financial windfall, you would ultimately be much happier if you spent the money on numerous pleasant, mood-boosting things. A daily lunch of sushi, a weekly massage, a regular delivery of fresh flowers, or Sunday morning calls to your best friend in Europe, rather than spend it all on a single big-ticket item that you believe you would really love, like a new Jaguar, or the remodeling of a bathroom with hand-painted tile. By now, you should appreciate the fact that you would swiftly adapt to the new automobile or bathtub, but not to the bursts of intermittent happiness. But why do we continue to believe so strongly that it's the large and dramatic events of our lives, the earthquake, the overseas adventure, the wedding, and the divorce, that are the ones that matter? Because those are the events we anticipate, remember, chew over, and discuss with others. We tend to notice and recall only the one day that something went very wrong, or extremely right, instead of the remaining 364 ordinary days. However, don't underestimate the positive emotions experienced during those ordinary days, because, properly understood, they can change your entire perspective and open your mind to new possibilities that you hadn't known were there just moments before. By enacting these strategies, you will create happy moments in your life that will not only make you feel happier, but alter your whole way of thinking and being. They will create a sense of possibility and promise, and who knows where that will take you.
What do you think of that? So one example of how I try to put in practice is these video recordings. So instead of going through my life automatically, like since to record something and I put them online, but since I just keep it to myself, and I basically stop and think like, even now, right? Why am I so lucky? Like, wow, I'm just going down the road, wheeling along, and I'm just appreciating, like, it's not freezing cold, I have half an hour to do this, right? I'm able to get outside. I'm really lucky that, it's not raining right now. I'm just trying to take those moments and almost reflect and talk about it to myself, or imagine talking to someone else in a way that helps ramp that up, right? Helps appreciate that. And it's a hard habit to build, but over years I think it does. I'm recognizing now it does help. And even as I think about what she's saying, Sonia Lyubomirsky, is, you can Google her, she has them on her website. She's kind of like helping me recognize, wait, a lot of these things are kind of happening, right? It's kind of like they're occurring, and if I stop and think about them, I actually feel happy already. I actually feel more purpose, I feel more meaning, I feel more energized, to recognize, oh yeah, there are these things that are this gold that's kind of being dropped in my lap, but then I'm picking it up and putting it on the table instead of just sit and look at it and appreciate it for a moment. What can you do differently? What can you try out after this? What's the next step? Alright, I'll play it again.
If you've ever had long-lasting or intense periods of feeling down or blue, you may be surprised at the role that positive emotions can play in depression. To be sure, depression has been described as a syndrome distinguished by a deficit of positive emotions. Inability to take pleasure in joyful events is a hallmark of depression. This positivity deficit is also evident in how depressed people think about the future and the past. Their problem, it turns out, is not so much that they anticipate bad things will come to pass, as that they cannot believe that good things will. They also have great difficulty recalling anything pleasant that has ever happened to them. The experience of positive events is also important. Surprisingly, recovery from depression appears to be jump-started by positive events even more than it's thwarted by negative events. For example, researchers in the UK carefully analyzed 49 instances when women improved or recovered from depressive episodes. These changes of fortune were found to be galvanized by a positive experience, especially something that gave these women the feeling of a fresh start. The activities that will be most effective in lifting depressive symptoms should be those that increase positive emotions, their surrounding positive thoughts, and positive experiences or events. It's worth noting that in our day-to-day lives, emotions, thoughts, and experiences are connected and typically occur together. It's no coincidence that the 12 happiness strategies all are designed to accomplish exactly what is needed to ward off depression: increase positive emotions, foster positive thoughts, and fuel positive experiences. Researchers argue that positive emotions possess the ability to undo the lingering cardiovascular effects of negative emotions. Indeed, feelings of joy, satisfaction, or pride can help people see the big picture of their lives and provide a sort of psychological timeout in the midst of stress or trauma, thus lessening the sting of any particular unpleasant event. In these ways, positive feelings marshaled in the face of adversity can build resilience by helping people bounce back from stressful experiences. A second benefit of happiness activities is that they boost positive thinking. The most widely held theories of depression posit that negative, dysfunctional thoughts are at the root of this disorder. This is because pessimistic, downbeat attitudes and memories fuel negative emotions: sadness, anger, jealousy, fear, which spawn more negative thoughts, and so on, in a vicious downward spiral. In contrast, happiness activities can counteract the negative bias by helping us unlearn our patterns of negative thinking. For example, hopeful predictions that result from the optimism strategy replace thoughts of hopelessness and powerlessness. Joyful memories brought to mind by the savoring strategy replace bitter and angry recollections about old hurts. Pleasant, distracting thoughts prompted by the avoiding overthinking strategy replace fretful ruminations about current troubles. Indeed, a study from my laboratory confirmed this reasoning. People who actively and regularly practiced either gratitude or optimism over an 8-week period came to regard their routine experiences in more positive ways, and to find everyday events, meeting a friend, commuting to work, cooking dinner, more satisfying.
How can you put that into practice? What are you doing to kind of appreciate those everyday events? Can you think of one you did yesterday? Last week? One you'll do tomorrow? I'm trying to apply what she said now, like thinking back. And one strategy I'm realizing is trying to take those kind of like negative thoughts you have and do some judo or jiu-jitsu, flip it over your back and make it not a positive one. I mean, you can't always make it positive, but at least make it a chance to practice something positive, right? Because then you take the impulse of feeling a bit like anxious or angry or stressed and you make it positive. And I'll give an example right now. Right now I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is really valuable. I want to share it with people, And I'm like, oh, am I failing to share this in a way that will get people to engage? Like, this video is too long or it's too noisy, right? Like, I'm doing something wrong. And I notice that, I feel that, and that's fine. I kind of accept that. I also then stop thinking to myself, well, actually, Joseph, how can you make that, what's the positive consequence of this, Well, one positive is that you are at least providing something, right? Like, you're taking some time to record this, to share with people. Who knows if anyone watches it, but at least you did the action, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, you did something. And also, I mean, you're benefiting from it, right? Like, as you go through as well. And I'm just stopping to appreciate. Noisy, I'll wait a second. How can you appreciate this right now? Appreciate that very cute dog that just went by. So I'm like, yeah, just stop and appreciate the positive. There's always negative consequences, negative aspects, but like, what's the positive here, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm lucky I'm just like going down the road, that I have access to an audiobook like this, right? That I even knew existence because I met at a conference and read up on this book. Like, I'm lucky. I'm grateful for that. I can imagine a life where I did not know this audiobook existed, where I did not know about the psychology research that could be helpful in every life, where I did not hear what I just heard this moment in this, what I just heard this moment in time. So what am I grateful for in doing this? Even if there are kind of challenges that I can think about could be even better or more helpful. Right. Give it about the last minute or so.
These more positive thoughts and interpretations in turn triggered improvements in well-being. Third, happiness activities encourage positive experiences. Practicing the nurturing relationships activity yields periods of relaxation and contentment in the company of family and friends. Practicing acts of kindness produces moments in which we suddenly feel efficacious and appreciated.
What's an act of kindness you can do? Hold the door for someone, smile, something that makes you efficacious. That you're having impact, you're helping people. Get some dopamine. Random stranger, saying good morning when you walk into a store, good morning and smiling, saying thank you, and I thank you, I hope you have a great day, after someone does something that's very routine. If you're in a restaurant that's really busy, damn, it looks really hectic, there's a lot going on, and smile. And they'll feel, they might, and they might not. You can't control, you can only buy lottery tickets to outcomes. But that person might be feeling better. And if they don't, do it 10 times, I'm sure someone will eventually get some benefit. And you'll feel like I went out of my way to do something for someone. I feel better about myself. I'm trying to add to the world in some small way.
Having more flow at home, school, and work can lead us to be more successful and productive, producing greater engagement and enjoyment of our daily life. If you are depressed, your goal is not just not to be depressed. Your goal is to be happy. However, even after therapy has successfully assuaged sadness, guilt, fatigue, and apathy, you still may not be happy, and you almost certainly wouldn't be flourishing or thriving. The latest estimate is that 11% of us are languishing, that is, not clinically depressed, yet living stagnant, empty lives. Or to quote Thoreau, leading lives of quiet desperation. Thus, recovery from depression will likely return you to a hedonic neutral point, to languishing at best. The goal of practicing happiness activities is to bolster positive emotions, thoughts, and experiences, such that they eventually lift you and sustain you above that neutral point. If you are currently receiving treatment for depression, the combination of the treatment and the use of happiness-increasing strategies will, I hope, have the double whammy effect of relieving depressed mood and elevating happiness. Are transient positive emotions really as important to strive?
By the way, she says it in the book, but of course, this is not meant to be a treatment, nothing. This, she's saying what I'm saying, is, people with particular diagnoses. There's all kind of, you can Google medical treatments available, counseling and so on. So I hope that's kind of better. I think the idea here is providing something else, like an additional resource. It can help anyone, right? And I think as you all hear, they can help all 8 billion people, right? Anyone can be a bit happy. Anyone can start for a moment and do something.
Strive for as honor, integrity, or meaning in life? The answer is that the very question is misleading. It sets up a false dichotomy between so-called hedonistic pleasures and the well-deserved gratifications of the mind, heart, and soul. In truth, positive emotion is positive emotion, joy is joy, contentment is contentment. Who is to compare the thrill of a helicopter ride with the ecstasy of spiritual awakening, the joy of a lemonade in the high desert, to the delight of hearing your baby's first laugh? Experiences that forge a sense of life meaning, whether they involve helping a friend in need, worshiping a higher power, or developing a superior expertise, are happy moments. So don't poo-poo pleasure. You can find pleasure in a silly TV show or in being wholly absorbed in a lecture on astrophysics. Both types of pleasure contribute to a happy life, and both types of pleasure can give rise to the multiple benefits of positive emotions, like feeling more sociable, more energetic, and more resourceful. An avalanche of studies has shown that happy moods, no matter the source, lead people to be more productive, more likable, more active, more healthy, more friendly, more helpful, more resilient, and more creative. This means that positive emotions actually help us achieve our goals, as well as help us strive for meaning and purpose in life. Indeed,
Emotions can help us achieve our goals, as well as strive for meaning and purpose in life. It's an example of that.
a series of intriguing studies at the University of Missouri found that happy moods lead people to perceive their lives as more meaningful. For example, the more positive emotion people experience during a particular day, the more meaningful they judge that day. That seriousness and greatness must be accompanied by grumpiness is a myth. I confess now that I did gloss over something. The source of the happy moments does matter, for it influences the ability of the experience to be self-sustaining. Although the bliss of a sinful pleasure can trigger the same kinds of intellectual, social, and physical benefits as the bliss of hard-earned effort, the sinful pleasure is over quickly, and what's more, can leave guilt or other negative feelings in its wake. But the pleasure born of any of the dozen happiness-inducing strategies is lasting, recurring, or self-reinforcing. One of the chief reasons for the durability of happiness activities is that unlike the guilty pleasures, they are hard-won.
There's a happiness activity right now, Open up a yoga video and see how it goes. Or stretching, or Pilates, or something.
You have devoted time and effort to meditating, or avoiding overthinking, or committing acts of kindness. You have made these practices happen, and you have the ability to make them happen again. This sense of capability and responsibility is a powerful boost in and of itself.
You have made these activities happen, and you have the power to make them happen again. Just that small thing, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, can give that sense of efficacy. That's what you're thinking about. Stepped away from my phone and sat on the couch. I sent a message to someone saying, "Hey, I was thinking about you, hope you're having a great day." I messaged my friend and family member to say, "Hey, I'm kind of grateful for our last conversation on X. It was useful for me because of Y." That's you taking actions to get efficacy.
When the source of positive emotion is yourself, as opposed to a televised World Cup game or a glass of wine, it can continue to yield pleasure and make you happy. When the source of positive emotion is yourself, it is renewable.
Renewable happiness. Happiness is a renewable resource.
The second how, optimal timing and variety.
That seems like a good place to wrap up. Although I guess I'll get you excited with the next part and then let you reflect on what you took away.
To be interested in the changing seasons is a happier state of mind than to be hopelessly in love with spring. George Santayana. Discovering which exact strategies you can undertake to become happier won't necessarily blow your mind. Knowing what to do is an important step, but you also need to know precisely how to do it. Fortunately, research has something to say about specifically how a happiness-increasing program must be carried out to achieve maximum success. In this section, I describe two elements that are critical: timing and variety. The pie chart theory of happiness predicts that no...
I'll leave that. You can download this and look this up, right? That was chapter 14. But probably it's different order, but that's the last 43 minutes. So what do you all take away from this? Like, what would you tell someone else was one interesting thing you got from this, or one quote? What's one you do differently? Like, what's one action you take now 30 seconds, a minute, whether immediately or setting a reminder for yourself on your phone, calendar, assistant, Google Assistant, whatever. Put this in practice. I'll give you 30 seconds more just to think about that and enjoy.
So we're going to take our right hand, place it down side of the body.
Have a great day. Hope you get extra activity in. I'm going to try for mine. Need to go and do yoga. And then walk for 5 minutes outside on my phone.
But no rigid limited.
As scary as that is, I'll turn it off for 5 minutes and walk. That's more realistic. What's your takeaway? What's your to do?
Breathe, don't hold the breath.